I'm standing in the bathroom at our company party right now, and my CEO just locked the door behind us. She's staring at me with this look I can't read, and all she said was, "This is our secret." My heart is pounding so hard I think she can hear it. But to understand how I got here, I need to go back 8 months. Back then, I had a plan. I was going to marry Rachel in the spring. We'd picked out invitations with little blue flowers on them. I worked at Nexus Tech Solutions as a junior data analyst. Nothing fancy, but it was steady. I thought I knew where my life was heading. Then I came home on a Wednesday and half our apartment was empty. Rachel's clothes, her books, her half of the kitchen stuff, all gone. There was a note on the counter next to the coffee maker. She said she'd met someone else. Someone who made more money. Someone who could give her a better life. She took $3,000 from our joint savings account. That was half of everything we had. The engagement ring I'd saved up for was sitting right there next to the note. I'd worked extra hours for 6 months to buy that ring. 3 days later, my landlord knocked on my door. He said the rent was going up by $350 starting next month. He said it was just what apartments cost now in this area. He said it like I should understand, like it wasn't going to completely mess up my life. I sat down and did the math. My paycheck was $2,400 every 2 weeks after taxes. My rent was now $1,450. My car payment was $280. Insurance was $150. My phone bill was $75. Electric and internet were about $120 together. I had student loans that took $300 every month. That left me with maybe $400 for gas, food, and everything else. For an entire month, I stopped eating lunch. I brought instant ramen from home and ate it in my car. Breakfast became black coffee, nothing else. Dinner was whatever was on sale at the gas station near my apartment. Those rotating hot dogs that had probably been there since morning. Bags of chips. Sometimes nothing at all. I started taking every single overtime shift they offered. I'd work 10, sometimes 12 hours a day. Then I'd go home and lie in bed doing math in my head. If I paid the electric bill late, they'd add a $25 fee. If I was late on my credit card, the interest would jump to 29%. My student loans didn't care about my problems at all. Sleep became something I grabbed in chunks. 3 hours here, 2 hours there. I'd wake up at 2 a.m. thinking about bills. Which one could I skip this month? Which company would actually shut off my service? My coworkers started noticing something was wrong. "You feeling okay?" they'd ask. I'd smile real big and say, "Yeah, just busy." What I didn't tell them was that I was busy trying not to lose everything. I was one missed paycheck away from being homeless. My work started slipping. I'd always been good at my job. My boss used to say my reports were the cleanest on the team. But now I was making mistakes. Little ones at first. I'd mix up numbers in a spreadsheet. I'd miss a detail in a client presentation. Once I fell asleep at my desk and missed a deadline completely. My performance reviews started showing it. Needs to improve attention to detail. Should work on time management. I knew what that really meant. It meant they were watching me. It meant I was close to getting fired. My boss, Mr. Peterson, called me into his office one afternoon. He asked if everything was okay at home. I lied and said yes, everything was fine. He gave me this look like he didn't believe me but wasn't going to push it. Then the email came. Subject line, leadership change. Victoria Chun was our new CEO. She was coming from some huge company where she'd fired a bunch of people and saved millions of dollars. The email said she was excited to bring fresh perspective and efficiency to Nexus Tech. Everyone started freaking out. People were whispering in the break room. I heard she fired 30% of the staff at her last company. She doesn't give second chances. If you're not performing perfectly, you're gone. I felt sick. My performance wasn't perfect. It wasn't even good anymore. I was the exact kind of person a CEO like that would cut. Her first month was scary. She restructured the marketing department. 7 people got let go on a Tuesday morning. They didn't even make it to lunch. Security walked them out with boxes of their stuff. Then she merged 2 teams in operations and 8 more people disappeared. Consultants started showing up. They'd walk around with tablets asking questions. What exactly does this team do? How do you measure success in this role? Every question felt like a trap. Everyone came in earlier. People stayed later. The office got quiet. Nobody joked around anymore. We were all just trying to survive. I was terrified every single day. I knew my numbers were bad. I'd missed 2 deadlines in the past month. I'd made mistakes in 3 different client reports. My supervisor had to fix them before they went out. These weren't huge disasters, but they were adding up. I started updating my resume in my car during lunch. I'd look at job postings and feel my stomach drop. Every job had 200 applications. Most wanted skills I didn't have, experience I hadn't gotten yet. I did the math on unemployment. If I got fired, I'd get maybe $1,200 a month for a few weeks. That wouldn't even cover my rent. I'd have 2 months, maybe 3 if I was really careful. Then I'd have to leave. I'd have to move back in with my parents 3 states away. At 29 years old, I'd have to admit I'd failed at everything. The company holiday gala invitation showed up in my email. All team members are strongly encouraged to attend. In company language, that meant you had to go. If you didn't show up, people would notice. They'd remember when they were deciding who to keep. I put on my best shirt, the blue one that didn't have any stains. I took the bus downtown because parking at the hotel cost $40. I didn't have $40 to spare. The ballroom was huge. Crystal lights hung from the ceiling. People were drinking champagne and eating fancy food from trays that waiters carried around. Everyone looked happy and relaxed. I grabbed a plate of small sandwiches and stood near the back. My coworker Derek saw me and waved me over. He was talking with some people from different departments. They were all laughing about something. I joined the group and tried to laugh along. Derek started talking about his Christmas plans. He was taking his family to Florida for a week. Someone else talked about a cruise they'd booked. They asked what I was doing for the holidays. Just relaxing at home, I said. That was my way of saying I couldn't afford to go anywhere. Then my phone buzzed. I pulled it out and saw a notification from my bank. Account alert. Insufficient funds for upcoming automatic payment. My rent was due in 2 days. The automatic payment was going to bounce. I'd get hit with fees. My landlord would see that the payment failed. This was it. This was the moment everything fell apart. My hands started shaking. I tried to hide it by putting my phone back in my pocket fast. But I felt cold all over. For months I'd been moving money around, making tiny payments, hoping something would save me. But nothing had. And now I was out of time. I looked up and saw Victoria Chun across the room. She was talking to someone, but she was looking at me. Her dark hair was perfect. Her black dress looked expensive. She just stood there staring at me with these intense eyes like she could see right into my head. I looked away fast and tried to focus on what Derek was saying. But I couldn't hear anything. All I could think about was that rent payment, those fees, the conversation I'd have to have with my landlord. I stayed there for 10 more minutes pretending everything was fine. Then Derek and the others got distracted by someone else joining the conversation. I saw my chance. I took a step back. Then another. I was almost to the door. Leaving already? I freeze. Victoria Chun is standing right next to me. I didn't even hear her walk up. She's maybe 3 feet away, her arms crossed, her head tilted just a little bit to the side. Up close, she's even more intimidating. She's tall, probably 5 feet 10 inches in her heels. She has this way of looking at you that makes you feel like you're being scanned, like she's reading your mind and filing everything away. I have something I need to take care of, I say. My voice sounds weak. Something urgent? Her tone doesn't give anything away. It's just professional and neutral. Yes, sort of. Family matter? The lie comes out automatically. Yes. She studies me for a long moment. The music and talking around us seems to fade away. I can feel sweat forming on the back of my neck even though the air conditioning is running. This is bad. Really bad. She saw me trying to leave early. She's going to remember this. Another mark against me. Another reason to fire me. We need to talk, she finally says. My stomach drops. Now? Yes. Now. She looks around at all the people drinking and laughing. Somewhere private. I follow her because what else can I do? She's my CEO. She's the person who decides if I have a job tomorrow or not. We walk through the crowd. People look at us as we pass. They're curious. They're wondering what's happening. I can already imagine what they'll say on Monday morning. Did you see Victoria take him somewhere? I wonder what that was about. She leads me down a hallway past some conference rooms. The noise from the party gets quieter with each step. My heart is pounding so hard it hurts. This is worse than I thought. She's not going to fire me in her office on Monday morning. She's going to do it right now. Away from everyone else. Maybe she thinks it's nicer this way. Maybe she just doesn't want people to see. Then she does something I don't expect. She pushes open the door to the women's restroom and looks inside. Empty. She holds the door open and looks back at me. Inside, she says. I hesitate. This is the women's bathroom. I know. Get in. I step inside and she follows me. The door swings shut behind us. She turns the lock. Click. We're alone in a space that smells like soap and has bright fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. I can see both of us in the big mirror over the sinks. I look pale and scared. She looks completely in control. This is our secret, she says. Her voice is lower now, more serious than I've ever heard it. I nod because I don't trust my voice. My mind is racing. Is this about my rent payment somehow? Did my bank contact the company? Is this about my bad performance reviews? Is this about something else I don't even know I did wrong? She crosses her arms and leans back against the counter. She never looks away from my face. I've been reviewing your file, she says. Here it comes. This is where she tells me I'm fired. I've been watching you, she continues. I want to disappear. I want to sink into the floor and never come back up. Your work when you first started here was really good, she says. The market analysis you did for the Morrison account? 3 board members mentioned it specifically in our quarterly meeting. I blink. I had no idea anyone that important even knew my name. Your presentations are always clear. Your data is always accurate. You have real talent. I wait. There's always a but coming. But something changed about 5 months ago, she continues. Her voice isn't angry though. It's something else. Something I can't figure out. Deadlines started getting missed. Reports that used to be perfect started feeling rushed. And you look exhausted all the time. My face feels hot. I've been trying so hard to hide it. I guess I failed at that too. I'm going through some personal stuff, I managed to say. But I'm handling it. Are you? She tilts her head slightly. Because I've noticed other things too. You wear the same 3 shirts every week. You stopped eating lunch with the team. Last Tuesday, I saw you checking your phone during the staff meeting, and you looked like you were going to throw up. I swallow hard. That was the morning my landlord texted me saying if I didn't pay by Friday, he was starting the eviction process. I've also looked at your salary, Victoria says quietly, and I've researched what it costs to live in this city. What rent costs, what food costs, what it takes just to survive here. She pauses. The math doesn't work, does it? I feel like someone just punched me in the stomach. She knows. My boss, my CEO, knows I'm barely surviving. I'm managing, I say, but my voice cracks. I just need a little more time to get things back on track. You're not managing, she says. It's not mean. She almost sounds sad. You're drowning. I can see it. You come in early and stay late, probably because you can't afford to do anything else. You're running on coffee and stress. And you're terrified that if you mess up one more time, you'll lose everything. Tears start forming in my eyes, but I force them back. I will not cry in front of my CEO in a bathroom. I'm sorry, I say. I know my work hasn't been good enough. I'm trying to fix it. Stop apologizing, Victoria says firmly. She's quiet for a moment. When she speaks again, her voice is different, softer. 9 years ago, I was engaged to someone I thought I'd spend my whole life with, she says. We had picked out an apartment. We were planning a wedding. I look up at her, surprised. Victoria Chun doesn't share personal information. Everyone knows that about her. Then I found out he'd been lying to me for months, she continues. About money, about debts he'd hidden from me, about another woman he'd been seeing behind my back. I don't know what to say. When I left him, I left with almost nothing, she says. He'd put bills in my name without telling me. He'd maxed out a credit card I didn't even know existed. Suddenly, I was responsible for $47,000 of debt that I never spent. And I was trying to work my way up at a company that didn't care about my problems. My chest feels tight. What did you do? Ask. I worked 3 jobs, she says. My regular job during the day, waitressing at night, freelance consulting on weekends. I slept 4 hours a night if I was lucky. I lived on ramen noodles and whatever free food I could find at work events. I smiled in meetings while doing math in my head about which bill I could skip that month. Did it get better? Ask. Eventually, she says. But I almost destroyed myself getting there. I ended up in the hospital twice. Once because I literally collapsed from exhaustion. Once because the stress made my stomach so messed up I couldn't eat for a week. I pushed myself so hard my body started shutting down. I stare at her. This powerful woman in front of me, the one everyone is afraid of, went through exactly what I'm going through right now. Why are you telling me this? I finally ask. She looks directly at me. Because I see myself in you. The determination. The pride that makes you hide how bad things really are. The fear that if you admit you're struggling, people will think you're weak. She pauses. And I'm telling you this because I don't want you to make the same mistakes I did. I don't understand, I say. My voice is shaking. Are you firing me? No, Victoria says. I'm trying to help you. The word help just hangs there in the air between us. I stare at Victoria, confused, waiting for her to explain what she means. She reaches into her small purse and pulls out a regular manila folder. The kind you can get from any office supply store. Nothing fancy. She hands it to me. Open it, she says. My hands are shaking as I flip it open. Inside are several printed pages. The first one has a title at the top. Rising Talent Support Initiative. I try to read the words, but they're not making sense. My brain feels like it's moving through mud. I don't understand, I admit. Read the second page, Victoria says. I flip to it. It's some kind of salary proposal. My eyes catch on a number and I have to read it 3 times to make sure I'm seeing it right. It's $4,600 every 2 weeks. That's almost double what I make now. This can't be right, I say. It is, she replies. That's the adjusted pay for people in the program. What program? My voice comes out confused. I don't even know what I'm looking at. Victoria takes a breath. 3 months ago, I proposed something new to the board. A program designed specifically for employees who have talent but are struggling because of money problems. People whose work is suffering not because they're bad at their jobs, but because they're dealing with situations that make it almost impossible to focus. I flip through more pages. There are details about financial counseling services, mental health resources, career development plans, something called an emergency assistance fund. The board approved it last month. Victoria continues. We're starting with 3 employees. Small enough that we can manage it carefully. Big enough to prove it works. If it's successful, we'll expand it across the whole company. My mind is trying to catch up. And you want me to be one of these 3 people? I want you to be the first, she says. The main participant. The one who helps us figure out what works and what doesn't. I look back down at that salary number. With that kind of money, I could pay my rent without panicking. I could pay off my credit cards. I could actually buy real food instead of gas station hot dogs. Why me? Ask. There have to be other people who need this more. People with kids to feed or medical bills. Because you remind me of who I was, Victoria says. And because despite everything you're dealing with, you keep showing up. You keep trying. Most people would have quit by now or completely fallen apart. But you're still here. Still fighting. I don't feel like I'm fighting. I feel like I'm drowning. I also need someone who's good with data, she adds. Someone who can look at how the program works and help me make it better. Your skills in analyzing information and presenting it clearly are exactly what this needs. You'll be in the program, but I'll also need your feedback. What helps? What doesn't? What should we add? Eventually, I want you to help me bring this to other departments. So I'd be like a test case, I say. She almost smiles. A very well-paid test case who I'll be personally training. You'd work directly with me. You'd be my mentor? The idea seems impossible. The CEO of the entire company spending time teaching me? Direct access to me, Victoria confirms. Weekly one-on-one meetings every Tuesday morning at 7. We'll discuss your projects, your progress, your career development. I'll introduce you to connections you'll need to move up. I didn't have any of that when I was struggling. I had to figure everything out alone, and it took me years longer than it should have. You won't have to do that. I look at the folder again. There's a section about relocation assistance. What's this part? Ask. If you need to move to a better apartment, we'll help cover the costs, she explains. Security deposit, moving expenses, first month's rent. Sometimes just getting to a better starting point makes all the difference. My apartment is terrible. The heating barely works. There's a stain on the ceiling that I'm pretty sure is mold. The neighbors are loud at all hours, but it's what I can barely afford. There's also this, Victoria says, pointing to another section. Emergency fund access. If something unexpected happens, a car repair, a medical bill, whatever, there's money available. You'd have to pay it back eventually, but it's interest-free and on a payment schedule that actually makes sense. I've been in situations where I needed $100 and had no way to get it, where I had to choose between fixing my car and eating that week. The thought of having a safety net makes my throat tight. This feels too good to be true, I say quietly. What's the catch? The catch is that you have to commit to the program for at least a year, Victoria says. You have to come to the mentorship sessions. You have to give honest feedback about what's helping you. And eventually, when you're stable, you have to help us mentor other people. That's it. That's it, she confirms. Oh, and you have to let me share your story anonymously with the board. They need to see that this works, that investing in struggling employees actually pays off. I think about what this means. Real financial stability for the first time in months. A chance to stop drowning. An opportunity to actually build a career instead of just trying to survive day to day. When would this start? Ask. Right away, Victoria says. The paperwork is already written up. I'll have HR process it Monday morning. Your new salary starts with your next paycheck. You were that sure I'd say yes? For the first time since we came in here, she really smiles. Not her professional CEO smile. A real one. I was that sure you were smart enough to recognize an opportunity when you saw one. My phone buzzes in my pocket again. Probably another alert about my account being overdrawn or a bill being past due. But suddenly those don't feel as scary as they did 10 minutes ago. I accept, I say. Whatever I need to do, whatever you need from me, I'm in. Good, Victoria says. She reaches for the door handle then pauses. One more thing. What? What we discussed in here about my past, about the debt and the broken engagement and all of it, that stays between us. I have a reputation to maintain. Of course, I agree. I won't tell anyone. You can tell people about the program, she clarifies. In fact, I want you to, but the personal details of my story are private. Understood, I say. She unlocks the door and opens it slightly, checking that the hallway is empty. Now go home. You look like you haven't slept in a week. Get some rest. We'll talk specifics on Monday. I step out of the bathroom, my head spinning. As I walk back through the party, everything looks different somehow. The same people, the same decorations, the same music. But I'm not the same person who walked in here tonight. Derek waves at me from across the room, but I barely see him. I need to get outside. I need air. I need to process what just happened. My CEO just saved me. The person I was most afraid of just threw me a lifeline when I was about to go under. I push through the doors into the cold night air and finally let myself breathe. I sit in my car for 20 minutes before I can even turn the key. My hands won't stop shaking. Everything Victoria told me in that bathroom keeps playing over and over in my head like a video I can't pause. When I finally make it back to my apartment, I just stand in the doorway staring at the pile of bills on my kitchen counter. Red envelopes, final notices, threats to shut off my electricity. For the first time in 6 months, I don't feel that crushing weight in my chest when I look at them. I sit on my couch, the worn one my ex didn't want, and I cry. Not sad tears. Relief tears. The kind that come when you've been holding your breath underwater and finally break the surface. Monday hits differently when you know your life is about to shift. I wake up before my alarm, which hasn't happened in months. I actually have energy. Real energy, not the fake kind you get from too much coffee and panic. At 8 a.m., my email pings. A message from HR with the subject line, salary adjustment and program enrollment. My heart starts pounding as I open it. There are forms to sign. New direct deposit information to confirm. A meeting scheduled for this afternoon with Victoria and the head of HR. The salary number is right there in black and white. $4,600 every 2 weeks. I stare at it until my eyes water. The HR office is on the 3rd floor. I show up in my best suit, the one I'd been saving for job interviews at other companies. Victoria is already there, looking every bit the powerful CEO in her navy blazer and white shirt. But when she sees me, something in her face softens just for a second. The HR director is a woman named Patricia. She's probably in her late 50s with kind eyes and gray hair pulled back in a bun. She walks me through everything with patience, like she actually cares. The program is brand new. I'm the first person enrolled. That means I'll help shape what it becomes. Patricia explains that 2 other employees will join within the next few weeks. Both are dealing with their own struggles. Financial problems, family emergencies, health issues that insurance barely covers. All of them are good workers who just need help to get back on their feet. Victoria barely speaks during the meeting. She sits with perfect posture, watching me sign document after document. But I catch her looking at me a few times with an expression I can't quite read. Maybe pride. Maybe recognition, like she's seeing her younger self. After Patricia leaves, Victoria stands and walks to the window overlooking the city. She doesn't turn around when she speaks. The first paycheck hits this Friday, she says quietly. I want you to take the weekend off. Go somewhere. Do something that reminds you life isn't just about surviving. I don't know what to say. Thank you seems too small. She finally turns to face me. Don't thank me yet. This program comes with expectations. You'll meet with me every Tuesday morning at 7. We'll discuss your projects, your progress, your professional development. I don't give handouts. I invest in people who prove they're worth the investment. There's the demanding CEO I know. But now I understand something everyone else misses. She pushes hard because she cares. Because she's been where I am and knows what it takes to climb out. The weeks that follow feel like living in a different universe. My first adjusted paycheck clears and I immediately pay off 3 overdue bills. The second paycheck lets me pay 2 more. By the third, I'm actually putting money into savings. Real savings. Not just leftover change. The Tuesday morning meetings with Victoria become the strangest part of my week. She asks about my current projects, then tears apart my approaches with razor-sharp precision. But she also teaches me things. How to read financial reports the way executives do. How to spot patterns in data that others miss. How to present ideas in ways that make board members actually listen. One Tuesday, she brings coffee. 2 cups. She sets one in front of me without a word. I'd mentioned weeks ago that I'd stopped buying coffee to save money. She remembered. We also start building the framework for finding other struggling employees. Victoria wants systems that catch problems early, before good workers fall too far behind. I suggest monitoring patterns, sudden changes in attendance, people who stop joining team lunches, employees who go quiet in meetings. Not as punishment, as early warning signs that someone needs help. 2 other employees join the program in early February. Marcus from operations, who's been caring for his daughter through cancer treatments while trying to keep up at work. and Sophia from client services, who escaped an abusive marriage and is rebuilding her life with almost nothing. I meet with both of them separately. I share my story. I let them know they're not alone. Watching them start to stabilize, seeing the relief in their faces when their first adjusted paychecks clear, I finally understand why Victoria created this. We're not just saving careers. We're saving actual lives. By late March, something shifts between Victoria and me. The Tuesday meetings run longer. Sometimes we talk about things beyond work. She tells me more about her past, the 3 jobs she worked, the apartment she shared with 4 other people just to afford rent, the night she sat in her car and considered giving up entirely. I tell her about my engagement falling apart, about finding Rachel's note on our kitchen table, about the months I spent wondering if I just wasn't good enough. Victoria listens without judging. Then she says something I'll never forget. Her leaving wasn't about you not being enough. It was about her not seeing your worth. Don't let someone else's blindness make you doubt yourself. The mentorship program starts getting attention inside the company. Other departments want to know how we're keeping employees longer. People are performing better, staying with the company, actually seeming happy at work. Apparently that's revolutionary. Victoria asks me to present our model to the executive team. My stomach drops when she tells me, speaking in front of the entire C-suite, the same people who probably didn't know I existed 4 months ago, but she believes I can do it. And after everything she's done for me, I'm not about to let her down. I spend 2 weeks preparing. Victoria reviews my presentation 4 times, each time finding ways to make it stronger, clearer, more compelling. The night before the big meeting, she sends me a text. Just 3 words. You've got this. I stare at those words for a long time. She's not just my CEO anymore. She's becoming something else. A mentor, yes, but also maybe the first person in years who actually sees me. Really sees me. Not the struggling guy barely keeping his head above water, but the person I could become with the right support. The presentation goes better than I imagined. The executives vote unanimously to expand the program company-wide by summer. After they file out, Victoria stays behind. Well done, she says simply, but her eyes say more. I couldn't have done it without you, I say. I didn't teach you how to care about people, she replies. You already had that. I just showed you how to turn caring into action. That weekend, Victoria invites me to coffee. Not at the office. At a small cafe across town where nobody from work goes. We talk for 3 hours. About life. About what we want beyond just career success. About the walls we build to protect ourselves and whether those walls actually keep us safe or just keep us lonely. When we leave, she touches my hand briefly. Just for a second. But I feel it for hours afterward. By summer, the program has grown to 32 employees. Other companies are calling, asking how we did it. Business magazines want interviews. I handle most of the public-facing work, but I know this is Victoria's creation. Her way of making sure nobody else has to suffer the way she once did. One Tuesday in late June, after our regular meeting, Victoria locks her office door. My heart starts racing. We need to talk about something, she says. She walks to the window, her back to me. I've been thinking about boundaries, professional relationships, the lines we draw to keep things simple. I wait, barely breathing. Those lines exist for good reasons, she continues. Power dynamics, conflicts of interest, the potential for things to get messy. She turns to face me. But they also prevent us from being honest about things that matter. Okay, I manage to say. I'm attracted to you, she says, direct as always. I have been for months. I've been telling myself it's inappropriate. That I'm your boss. That it would complicate the program. That people would talk. She pauses. But pretending otherwise hasn't made it go away. My heart is pounding so hard I can hear it. I feel the same way, I say. I've been trying not to. But every Tuesday when you bring coffee, every time you push me to be better, every time you look at me like I'm worth something, I stop. I've been falling for you for months. She smiles. A real smile. This is probably a terrible idea. Probably the worst. I agree. People will think I'm showing favoritism. They probably will. The board might have concerns. Almost definitely. She steps closer. So we keep it private. At least for now. Until we figure out what this is and whether it's worth the complications. And if people find out anyway? Victoria's expression hardens with determination. Then they find out. I didn't fight my way to CEO to let other people control my personal life. But I also won't let anyone say you earned your success through anything other than your own hard work and talent. 3 months later, Patricia from HR figures it out. She calls us both into her office and I think I might throw up. But she just smiles. I've worked here 23 years. I've seen a lot of relationships start in these offices. And I've learned to recognize when two people are trying very hard not to be obvious. She looks at Victoria. The board doesn't have a policy against executive relationships, but they do require disclosure for legal protection. For both of you, we disclosed the relationship that afternoon. By the next morning, word has spread through the entire office. Some people are surprised. Others claim they knew all along. But mostly people are supportive. Because they've seen me transform over the past year. Because they respect Victoria, even if they're still a little afraid of her. Because the program has helped enough people that there's real goodwill toward both of us. Standing in Victoria's office after everyone has gone home, looking out at the city lights, I think about that holiday party. About how terrified I was. About how certain I was that my life was ending. What are you thinking about? Victoria asks, coming to stand beside me. About how one conversation in a bathroom saved my life. She takes my hand. It saved mine too. I'd forgotten why I fought so hard to get here. You reminded me that real power isn't about control. It's about lifting others up. The story that began with "This is our secret" grew to include so many more people. Employees saved by a program built on compassion. A company that learned to value humans over just profit. And two people who found each other in the most unexpected place, proving that sometimes the best investment you can make is in someone else's potential.